Good evening. It's not even evening, it's afternoon. Hi, it's me. I'm back. I took a week hiatus, I guess. So with my week hiatus, I only took a week hiatus honestly because my book intake has been kind of slow. But I realized that my book intake has been slow because I'm reading a lot of longer books right now. I'm still reading Blood Marked, which is like 500 some pages, and then this video is about this book. Was reading Prince Harry's book Spare, which is about 410 pages. So my book intake has been a little slow, and I may have to adjust my goals for the year. My goal for the year was 70 books, but I probably am not gonna make that because I have all these long books on the queue. Anyway, I'm here to review Prince Harry's book Spare. As soon as I saw this book, I was excited to listen to it because I am a memoir queen. That is one of my genres. I knew I wanted to read this book immediately. I even pre-ordered this on Audible. I did listen to it. I listened to it on Audible because I knew that renting it was going to be impossible. So I knew I wanted to read it. It's read in his voice. It's about his life. Being Prince Harry and the British monarchy and his experiences with racism under the crown, right? I gotta say, I was really excited for this book. It starts off really slow in my opinion because, with all the controversy surrounding him and Meghan, I kind of expected it to just amp up right off the bat, and it doesn't. It's a slow burn. And I want to say, so it was a 14-hour book, I want to say. No, maybe more. Maybe a 15-hour book, and it really amps up in the last 3 hours. The other chapters, they're informational and you do learn a lot about his life, but if you're just looking for the drama of Meghan and him fleeing the monarchy, that's in the last 3 hours, so probably the last couple chapters of the book. All right, so here are my thoughts. So this is probably going to have mild spoilers in it, but if you don't care, you don't care. The mom of it all. I have my notes below me. I've got my tea right here. No wine today, girl, because I'm still recovering from COVID. Oh yeah, that's another reason I took a week off. I got COVID. Anyway, the mom of it all. So he spends a lot of time in his book, rightfully so, talking about the trauma of losing his mom, Princess Diana, right? And the interesting thing to me is that it seems like British people as a whole are extra polite and extra like and so no offense if I have any British viewers, but they seem very like they don't want to express their emotions, right? So like he's got this tragic event that has happened to him as a child, and no one is really explaining things to him and talking to him. So it was heartbreaking to hear that he went through like a huge portion of his life thinking that his mom might have just been hiding from the paparazzi to get a break. And like he went through his life thinking that that might have been the case. And I want to say it wasn't until like high school and like older high school that he started to realize that maybe he needed to grieve and he needed to let his mom go. And then he's like looking for love in these different relationships, and it was this one woman that he was dating whose name I don't remember, but he makes a point to recognize her in the book, so kudos to him. He makes a point to recognize her because she was the first person he was able to cry about his mother's death with. And that was like so late in his life, dude. Like it was so late, like maybe late 20s. And I'm like, oh my God, you are just now being able to grieve your mother's death like years after the fact. I find that so ridiculous that his father I mean, I don't know what's on the queen's plate, honey, but like nobody like sat him down and was like, your mother has passed. This is awful. Let's get you into therapy. Let's get you into this. Let's help you do that. None of that. Like, it's just like, you know, the thing that they don't talk about. He detailed a lot of that experience. And then there were points where you could tell that a lot of the living in the monarchy is like living in other people's shadows, or like living in, so for him, being the spare to William's heir, like he's always living in William's shadow, or you know, William is doing, you know, better shit basically, and he has, you know, higher expectations because he's the heir and Harry is the spare. But a lot of their lives are living in each other's shadows and eclipsing each other in a way. And even like when he was with Meghan, he made a point, like she went to India and he told her not to pose with the Taj Mahal because everyone would compare her to his mom. And that really stood out to me, that even though he knew it was a toxic environment by then when he's with Meghan, he made a point of still conforming to that way of thinking, like, don't take this picture at the Taj Mahal because everyone's going to compare you to my mom. But they have, like, going back to that, they have so much of that toxic comparison amongst each other. So like, he made a point of saying several times that Camilla and his father, I guess we call him King Charles now, I don't know about that, girl. But they made a point of saying over and over again how he called him Pa and Camilla would like use the press against him and William so that they were cast in a better light. And that is fucked up, bro. Like, that is so fucked up. Like, can you imagine like beefing with each other for positive headlines in the press when all of them hate the press? They're like violating their privacy consistently. And that was like his whole theme of the book, that the press essentially has ruined his life since day one. Like, they harassed his mother to death. They harassed him when he was with his mother. They harassed him all of his high school years, so to the point that he couldn't do, you know, simple things like trying drugs and shit, girl. I mean, I wasn't doing that in high school. I understand that, you know, other people are experimenting with weed and, you know, a little this, a little that. I wasn't doing that, girl, but I understand that girls are doing that. The whole book, he's really relatable. And it's interesting because I found it conflicting, because he's coming from such a place of privilege, so it is a little difficult to feel bad for him in some instances, but at the same time, you could tell that for him, his life was torture. And experiences and traumas and things like that are relative to the people who are having them. I'm a firm believer in that. Like, you shouldn't compare trauma, right? So, like, to give an example, not outside of Harry, like, if you cut your finger, cutting your finger does hurt, right? But if someone breaks their finger, that's probably going to hurt a little more, but that doesn't mean that your cut finger doesn't hurt and that you're not allowed to be sad about your cut finger. So I'm a firm believer in that, and, you know, I apply that to everything. Experiences are relative to the people that are having them. Some of us are sitting back probably thinking like, oh, well, I would have sucked it up and lived my life of luxury in the monarchy, honey, but that wasn't their experience, right? Or his experience. No amount of money in the world, it seems like, for Harry is worth his freedom and him wanting to love who he wants to love, which is really admirable. That's in my notes too. Like, I found it really courageous of him, not so much Meghan, and I'll get to that, I'll elaborate, but I found it really courageous of him to be able to step away from the royal family and their royal titles, to protect his peace and his wife's peace. And yeah, they were harassing Meghan. She went through an incredibly horrible time, but at the end of the day, in my opinion, at the end of the day, Meghan walked into something discovered it was a shit show, and she walked away from something. But that is all Harry knew, right? That's his family, his friends, his lifestyle that he's known since he came out of the womb. And to be able to look that in the eye and say, this is toxic, I'm done, I'm walking away, I found very courageous. Like, yeah, I don't know how else to describe that. I found that very courageous. But some other notable things from the book, in my opinion, I was really fascinated by his military career. So, like, I don't know, I assumed that his military career was honorary, right? I didn't think that he may have had a lot of actual action. I thought it was like honorary. He's going around with them and, you know, giving interviews or some shit like that, girl. But no, he's like out there fighting and getting all the, like, he had PTSD. He's getting all the trauma from war, girl. Like, he was out there. He was out there. He killed 25 people. He dropped that number in his book. Spoiler alert. So, crazy. Like, he's a pilot. Like, he's a pilot. He has this really distinguished military career, which made me dwell on the Queen's funeral when they were so hell-bent on him. So, like, when he left the monarchy and he and Meghan left their royal titles behind, they stripped him of some of his military titles. And reading this book and knowing, first of all, he doesn't talk about this in the book, but knowing how much he accomplished in the military, I find it absolutely obscene that they would have stripped his military titles and not let him wear a uniform for his grandmother's funeral. Because, and I want to say they reneged on one day and let him wear it, but like, just hearing about his military career, I found that so petty and so bogus. Like, what? Like, I don't know. That part really blew me. I also found a lot of his veterans work admirable. And I do hope, I mean, I do think that his father and William are toxic AF. And I hope that he finds peace here in America with Meghan and his children, because he needs to just leave Pa and Willie alone. I think they just need to stew in the mess that they have made on their own, girl, because no. Towards the end of the Queen's life, Harry was describing some of her attendants, and he describes them as the wasp, the bee, and the fly. And when he and Meghan were going through a lot of their shit, he was like begging them for help because they were the Queen's attendants. And then he would beg his grandmother, which is the Queen, and she would assign the wasp or the bee or the fly to help him, and they basically refused. And when Harry called them out on it in front of the Queen, she also called them out and said, you know, what's he talking about? What's this about? And they lied. They lied. And I wonder, so they lied. I say that they lied to say that they were manipulating the Queen, right? Because he had asked them for help and they shut it down and said, no, they got no requests. But I wonder, towards the end of her life, when she was getting frailer, you know, and she didn't have as much stamina as she had before, and I wonder how much the wasp, the bee, and the fly, as he describes them, were manipulating her into huge decisions or out of huge decisions. Like, I wonder how much manipulation was going on behind the scenes for other things, not just for the Harry and Meghan stuff. I did really enjoy the book. It gives a lot of detail into, or a lot of insight into who Harry is as a person. I really enjoyed reading it. It is a longer read. I would say slow to medium pace. Like, unless you're super dedicated, you're not gonna fly through this. I didn't, and I was expecting to. I'm wearing a poncho. My hands are under my poncho. I did not fly through it, and I was expecting to. So it is a slower read, so I thought. But there's a lot of information. You do learn a lot about Harry. He doesn't gloss over a lot. This is no, last year I gave him my scale of Will Smith giving a lot of information, and then Tamara Mowry just giving you the tip of the iceberg. This is closer to Will Smith, where he's giving you a lot of information. I really enjoyed it. It's read by him. It was great to hear him and this in his own words. He didn't hire like a reader or something like that, which I thought was really great. Lots of details, lots of things that I learned, and stuff that I even learned, like simple things. Like he was talking about getting trench foot in the military, and I looked up trench foot. Like there was small things that I learned, and then I learned that they all basically don't have last names. Essentially, like the book is written by Prince Harry. Like, and I was like, oh, what is this man's last name? What's the Queen's last name? Hell, what's William's last name? They don't really have last names. It's like made up. Windsor's their last name, but that's like made up. So it was a learning experience. What I think Harry wants you to take away from the book is that the paparazzi and the press are toxic, and on several occasions they have ruined his life, and that he would like to live in peace and privacy with his wife and his children and serve in some capacity, because he is a huge fan of service, and that's beautiful. What I took from this book is that we as people are a little obsessed with pop culture, and not in a we're just a little obsessed kind of way. Like, it's toxic, girl. Like, it's not just Prince Harry, right? Like, look at Britney Spears. Like, y'all, we as a society broke Britney Spears with the paparazzi, and even like Kanye a little, even though I hate Kanye right now. He has some facts. Leave him alone when he's going to his kid's soccer game. That's none of your business, So I took that away from it, and then I also took away that Prince William is a nasty girl. He needs to go check himself before he wrecks himself, okay? What a nasty girl. But yeah, that's it for my review, you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed reading it. I'm currently reading now, obviously still Blood Marks. I am also reading the follow-up to Labyrinth Lost. If you saw my Labyrinth Lost book review, I'm reading the follow-up, Bruja Born. It's actually really good. I was not expecting to be into it. What else am I reading? I am reading, I'm waiting for that really popular Colleen Hoover book that y'all just love, honey. It Ends With Us. I need to get that in the books before the movie comes out. There's a movie coming out, girl. Anyway, I've got a lot of great things in the works. I also read 2 other books that I didn't review in my peak COVID. One was called The 29th Day, about a bear attack in the Canadian tundra, and then I read another book called Blink by K.L. Slater, which is another one in my wheelhouse. It's a psychological thriller. So if you want a review on one of those, let me know. But I anticipate my next book review probably being for Bruja Born. So I've talked enough. Like my video, subscribe to my channel, share with your friends. I'm trying to be out here, girl. I'm trying to be out here, girls and boys. I always wonder if I put off my male audience when I say girls. It's a habit. I'm sorry. Anyway, I'm done rambling. Goodbye.